Shalom and welcome to our broadcast today. I'm Phil Blazer. Two topics, both cultural. One, a museum. Beth Hatefutsoth, the Diaspora Museum in Tel Aviv. We'll meet Neal Levy. We'll talk about all the wonderful things that are going on with Beth Hatefutsoth. On top of that, in Los Angeles, Kindred Spirits, second annual at the Disney Concert Hall. We will have Cantor Elon Davidson, and we will have Noreen Green and friends with us to discuss that most intriguing performance coming up right around the corner. That and more in our broadcast today. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Well, shalom and welcome back. Neal's here to talk about Beth Hatefutsoth. Really all started with the destruction of the Second Temple. Neal had nothing to do with that. Just wanted to clear that up at the beginning. Neither one of us. We had nothing to do with that. The Jews left. They went out. They became the diaspora. And then many, many generations later, the Diaspora Museum, part of the, adjacent to the Tel Aviv University.
On the campus.
On the campus, in Tel Aviv, basically. A little bit on the outside of Tel Aviv, but pretty close to the center. Everybody thinks the center of Tel Aviv, by the way, is Hayekon, because that's where they stay in hotels.
Right, or on the beach.
Or on the beach.
Right, right.
But coming back to the museum, what a great blessing for Jews and non-Jews to better understand their roots. I mean,
absolutely.
Israel is so close to America in this concept of immigration and a melting pot. What's the history of the museum? When did it get started? When was it inaugurated?
The museum actually was planned during the 1960s. A group of people came together led by Nahum Goldman, who was then head of the World Jewish Congress. And the idea was to build a museum that would present and display the story of the diaspora. It was a number of partners came together, including the World Jewish Congress, Tel Aviv University, that's why we're located on the campus, the Tel Aviv Municipality, and the Jewish Agency. And actually the museum was inaugurated in 1978. We've gone through, we just celebrated last year actually the 30th anniversary of Beth Hatefutsoth. But now we're launching a whole new plan.
It's a whole new world.
Right.
I mean, there's websites, there's the internet, of course, extension, digital television like our network. It's a whole different world. Therefore, right. There's a need for a whole different museum.
Absolutely, absolutely. For various reasons, the museum was not updated during the course of the 30 years, not technologically, and also not in terms of the narrative. And as you just said, Phil, the world has changed. And in 2005, Arik Sharon, who was then Prime Minister, passed the Beth Hatefutsoth law, establishing it as a national institution with the same status as Yad Vashem and the Israel Museum. And he allocated funds for the development of the museum and to bring it into the 21st century. We went through a long strategic planning process, which gave certain recommendations, and now we're acting on them. The number one recommendation is to build a whole new museum. We're going to, in the same space, going to build a whole new museum, no longer the story of the diaspora, but rather the story of the Jewish people. Not starting with the destruction of the Second Temple, but going back to Abraham, to the beginning of the Jewish people, and not ending with the establishment of the State of Israel, but actually bringing it up to today. And also the way the story will be told will be different, not just technologically, but also in terms of how we present the story. Today, because of where Israel was at, where the Jewish world was at in the 1960s, it's in very many ways a didactic museum. It's the diaspora is related to almost as a passing phenomenon. That we're going to tell the story of the diaspora because now with the establishment of the state, let's not forget what happened in the diaspora. Well, now we relate to the Jewish world differently, and we have thriving communities here in North America. We have communities going through Renaissance in Eastern Europe, and it's important that we present these communities just like we present the Jewish community in Israel. We'll be telling the story of the entire Jewish world and their history and their culture and Jewish life, not specifically the diaspora. I always say that the criterion that will determine whether we succeeded or not is whether each Jewish visitor comes out of that museum with the feeling that he or she saw where he or she fits in this 3,000-year-old narrative of the Jewish people, and it's relevant to their lives. So come visit when you're in Israel, and we're looking forward to welcoming you.
Well, we at JLTV are looking forward to partnering with you in whatever we can, because this is a wonderful extension of what we're all about.
That's right. That's right.
It's nice to see that there's really new life a lot of new energy at the museum.
It's very exciting, very exciting.
And it's interesting to note that you mentioned that it's become now a national institutional landmark, an official destination for our viewers to go to.
It's a must-see site. Most definitely.
Thank you, Neal.
Thank you,
and
Phil.
I'm so relieved about the second temple destruction. I don't know what to say.
Nothing to do with it.
All that guilt just left me just like that. We'll be right back to look at Beth Hatefutsoth, Diaspora Museum's very special video tribute on the Jewish people.